right. I think we're live. I think we're here. The audio is good. Testing. All right. Looks good. All right. So it's Let's Talk Television, episode 7 here. Let me just make sure on the connection. As I do every week for one of these episodes, the first couple of minutes I just make sure that everything's looking good so that we don't get going and I get through the whole episode and I look back and it looks like I've had no stream, or the maybe the audio was out the whole time or something like that. Yeah, so it looks good. It's saying no data, but it does that sometimes, so I think we're all good for that. So, okay, we'll just check back on that in a minute or so, and we'll get into kind of the intro of things here. But, yeah, so it's looking good otherwise. And, yeah, it looks like it's good now. Okay, good connection, yeah. Okay, so we're here for Let's Talk Television, episode 7 now, and it's been a couple weeks now, I think. It's like 12 days or something like that, since episode 6, that I did, and I want to try to do these every week, but this last week, a big portion of the show here is talking about news articles and just stuff that's going on, and there just wasn't a lot going on, at least for me personally. I know there was some big announcements and stuff like that with Marvel, I think, and a few of those projects. I don't really know enough about those to talk about them, so I couldn't really do that. And so anyways, but this week I thought there's 4 topics here that I thought were really worth discussing. One that I'm really interested by and really want to get into, and hopefully have a good discussion about it. It's about the House of the Dragon, and Ryan Condal finally addressing George R.R. Martin's stuff about it, and I don't think I've talked about it yet on the channel, so I definitely wanted to take some time and address that for sure. So okay, so the audio is looking, it's looking good there as well, and the stream is all looking good. All right, awesome. So yeah, a few things to talk about here for this one, and the main thing I want to talk about as well, obviously, is Severance, right? Severance season 2, and I don't know. To me, like, it's been, I think, 10 days now, I think, since the finale aired. Been about a week since I did my review on the channel, and it just seems like it's kind of gone. Like, no one is really talking about it anymore. Even just, a few days afterwards, it kind of seemed like it fizzled out very quickly compared to some other shows. But that could be just me. Maybe that's just what I have seen. So anyways, but I do want to talk about it. I meant to do this last week, so that's why it's a little late. But I do want to talk about season 2 and specifically the finale episode. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to get into, many spoilers or anything like that, but just talk about kind of that finale. And like I do with a lot of these topics here on Let's Talk Television, it's just kind of place that within, a greater kind of discussion of, other finales in TV right now, and that kind of thing. So anyways, we'll start off this episode like I do every week with our This Week in TV segment here. So basically just talking about some of the shows I've been watching, since last episode in the last week or two, and talk about some of the episodes. So first off is Severance season 2, obviously, and on Apple TV Plus. And yeah, so I'll be going into this. I'm not sure that I need to really talk about it much here. Because I'm going to talk about the finale and my experience with season 2 just generally. I've also done a review on the channel, so if you're interested, obviously in my thoughts on season 2 a little more than what I'm going to be talking about later, for sure check out that review. That's definitely there. So yeah, Severance season 2. A good season of television, obviously, right? Like a really good season of television, but I'll get into the rest of it. But I think, and I also had to catch up as well. I think I was 2 episodes behind, 2 or 3. So I caught up on those, I think, the day before, and then watched the finale the night of with everybody on Apple there. So, so that was interesting, a few episodes there. Next, then, is Dope Thief on Apple TV+. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I watched the first 2 episodes that aired. They premiered them together, and I did a little video there on the channel talking about the first couple episodes there of my review. Episode 3, it was kind of the same as my thoughts of the first 2 episodes, but maybe even just a little worse. Especially there's this first opening sequence of this episode 3 that I watched here, where it's bad, man. I'm not sure exactly what happened here behind the scenes, but it's so obvious that this was, reshot, or they didn't have the coverage of, both actors in some of these scenes. And it just felt very out of place. The editing here, I'm sure that, with what they had, maybe this was the best possible editing that you could do. But the way it was edited was it was just cut into literally some scenes that just didn't make sense. The timing just didn't make sense for any of it. So anyways, I don't want to fault the editors, because I don't think it was their fault. I think they probably did the best with what they had. But I'm not sure what went wrong here, to be honest, with the series. I know that Michael Mando obviously was supposed to be in it, and I think he filmed quite a lot of it, I guess. Or maybe not. I'm not sure how much he actually filmed, but he was supposed to be in it. He got in this altercation. It's believed that him and Brian Tyree Henry maybe got in a physical fight. I don't think that's confirmed, but that's kind of the rumors. So anyway, so he was fired from the show, and then they brought in Wagner Moura. But I don't know, even some of these scenes in the thing that I'm talking about, Wagner Moura, Michael Mando, they were nowhere to be seen, right, in these scenes. But maybe they were supposed to be originally, and then they maybe had to go back and reshoot some of these, so that's why it seems out of place. I don't know what all happened here, but it's really unfortunate, because Brian Tyree Henry is so good in the series. He's so charismatic, brings so much energy to the series. He really makes it worth watching still, even despite some of these, errors and just, the editing stuff going on. And then Wagner Moura is pretty good too, and their dynamic has been really good so far. So, yeah, and I like some of the other actors in it too, but it's just tough, man. I don't know if I'll watch any more episodes after this, to be honest, because, yeah, it's just, it really is distracting. Some things like this, you can kind of, okay, you see, something is a little glaring here and there, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not the best. But you are still invested in the show, and you can still kind of carry on and still enjoy the show. But to me, this is, just on the borderline of, okay, it's almost too distracting, or maybe it is, too distracting to actually be invested, kind of that suspension of disbelief, right, that we all have for, all fictional TV shows and movies, right? It's kind of on that line where I don't know if I even can anymore because of some of the stuff that's going on. But I don't know. I've seen some stuff like this, Your Honor from Showtime from 2021 comes to mind as kind of a similar thing where, they would have, this happened multiple times in that show, but where we would literally have a previously on segment for this new episode that I've been watching, and it would include multiple scenes that just never happened in any other episode. And so there's obviously reshoots and editing of that stuff that went wrong. And this is kind of a similar thing I'm getting from here. So really unfortunate, obviously it would have been great to see Michael Mando. I love him from Better Call Saul, obviously. And so to see him and Brian Tyree Henry, I can't even imagine how good that would have been, that dynamic between the two. Both actors just bring so much, like I said, energy, charisma to those roles that they've been in. So yeah, it's just so sad that it didn't work out and that they fired, or they had to fire Michael Mando. Yeah, it just sucks, man. It's so sad. And yeah, so maybe they could have avoided all these technical problems, and also we could have seen Michael Mando and Brian Tyree Henry together. So yeah, this is, to me, of the past few years, this is honestly one of the biggest what ifs, because I do truly think this show could be one of my favorites of the year if things had worked out differently, perhaps. But anyways, still a good show. There's still lots to be mined from the show here. I think Brian Tyree Henry is really great. There was some great tension in this episode as well. I'll give him credit. So it's not all bad, but yeah, I'm just not sure if I'm going to be watching any more episodes. Just, it's a little distracting, some of the technical kind of behind the scenes stuff, unfortunately. All right. So then lastly is Suits LA Season 1 on NBC. I'm sticking it out. So I've done quite a bit of coverage actually on Suits LA on the channel here, even in Let's Talk Television. I talked about, what the biggest problem with Suits LA and the problem with spin-offs and all this stuff. So I went into some of my thoughts on that. And episode 2 to me was weak, to be honest. Like, it was pretty weak, just in terms of, like, just writing. Aaron Korsh even wrote it, which I was kind of surprised at. Like, just kind of crazy writing here, right? Like, some of these scenarios and situations just completely nonsensical, right? Like, they like just crazy that this actually like was a part of the script and went forward. Some of that stuff, it was just a little too much to me. Episode 3, though, we come back, and I thought this was actually a pretty good episode. Like, I don't know. I get people's problems, and I've talked about, obviously my problems. I agree with a lot of people about Suits LA, but I don't, again, like I said in some of those videos, like, for network TV, I don't understand, like, this episode, particularly episode 3, I don't understand how, you could watch that episode and then watch a lot of other network shows and think that this is, trash or, garbage, like some people have called it. Like, I don't see that at all. I think, some of the writing in episode 3 was quite a bit better, actually. There wasn't any kind of, big plot holes, like that with episode 2. I thought the dynamic between, Lex Scott Davis's character and Brian Greenberg, I think is his name, and was it Rick and, I can't remember her name now. Rick and, but anyway, so Lex Scott Davis's character, I thought their dynamic is maybe the best in the show right now. Like, I actually think it's that they have chemistry, those two, and I think they're actually really developing something. And this is the thing, like, people were writing off the show just after the pilot episode, and it's like, yeah, the Harvey Mike dynamic in the pilot of Suits was great and better than what we saw in this pilot for any of these characters, but it was also not like, the height of its it wasn't at its best, let's say, that dynamic or the chemistry until, maybe later in season 1 or probably the later than that even, like season 2, 3, 4, right? As the show go on and really hit its stride, that's when that stuff really develops. And so for people writing off after the pilot episode is kind of strange to me, right? Like, we got to have some time for these characters. And I feel like even in episode 3, it seems to be getting a little bit better with that chemistry and seems to be really catching on, in my opinion. I enjoyed that part. So, I think the Stephen Amell stuff, his Ted Black character, there's still some stuff to be mined there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, yes, there's no Harvey and Mike dynamic, right? And I get that. That's definitely missing from this show. And to go along with, obviously, just the package of the show being called Suits LA, there's a lot of problems with that, and I talked about that. But I don't know. I think if you give this a chance, I think if, Suits fans that liked a lot of that kind of relationships and the stuff that comes along with the Aaron Korsh style legal drama, I don't know. I think there's some stuff here, that's worthwhile. Is it as good as Suits? No, right? Like, but did we really expect it to be either? Like, I don't know, right? I didn't, at least. So yeah, I don't know. And it's also only like 4 or 5 episodes in now total. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts, I guess. And then episode 4, I have heard, or I can't remember if maybe I've seen episode 4. But anyways, that I think is, spoiler alert, but that is when Harvey returns to the show. Maybe I saw the clip of it, actually, and maybe I haven't seen the full episode yet. But anyways, so that'll be interesting, to see. Going forward, how much he's in. I'm not sure. We've heard 3-episode arc, but I'm not sure if he's like in episode 5 as well or anything like that yet. So, anyways, I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep watching a few more episodes of Suits LA, if for nothing else, just to see Harvey in the series and kind of see what they're gonna do with that. That's about it. That's about my thoughts on Suits LA season 1 on NBC there. So, all right. That'll just do it then for our opening, kind of discussion on This Week in TV. Everything with the stream is going good. Yep. All right. And the audio is still good. Okay. Awesome stuff. All right. So let's get into the main topic then of things here. And So obviously, Severance Season 2, right? So like I said, I did my review for the season of Severance here, and full season review on the channel. So I talk about I guess all of season 2, but mainly the finale and my thoughts on it. Even going into season 3, what are some of the questions and stuff like that. So definitely check that video out if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But just as a quick kind of recap, I suppose, of my thoughts of season 2. Yeah, I thought it was a great season of TV for sure. Right, I think by the end of the year, I think I said it in my review, by the end of the year, it will probably be in a list of my top 5, top 10 at the very least, TV shows of the year, right? Like it just will be. There is so much to the show that really deserves credit, right? It's the production design, the costumes, the dialogue, the what else? Like the color palettes that are used, just the direction in general, like just everything about the show feels unique, feels original, and everything is just so right down to the smallest details, is just really a piece of art. It really is. It's really well crafted. The tone of the kind of comedy and the playing on the satire of things, just even like the use of the color blue, and the names that they refer to everything as with Lumen, and it's just everything. Everything in the show is so complete, and so, I'll never criticize that part of the show, and that alone, to me, makes it in that conversation of one of the best shows of the year, because even just within the last month or so, like, a lot of these other shows that I watch, and a lot of other shows on, even some really good ones, are kind of mid, right? To me, like, it's just, they lack this kind of quality that Severance has. So, anyways, with all that being said, a great season of television. Though I don't necessarily think this is a masterpiece, right? I think even, I said this in my review, but I think even people who are in love with the show and really, really enjoy it, and it will be their favorite show of the year, I think they could even see a little bit, as well, that this is a little overrated. Just in the way that people have been kind of obsessing over the season, and also the way that they treat people who have a slightly different opinion, or are somewhat critical of the show, and just and some of the discussion and the discourse of this has been very odd to me just to see that. So, anyways, I think yes, overrated a little bit, even only if just for the type of discourse that's been coming about it. But anyways, yeah, I don't think it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's prestige TV on par, with the golden age of TV, shows like Breaking Bad and not Severance, Succession recently, Sopranos, you could go on, right? Dexter, Better Call Saul. I don't think it's on that level. To me, I would put it kind of the level right below that, to me, for season 2 and season 1 too. But particularly season 2, because I do think it was a bit of a step down from season 1. So anyways, like I said, full review on the channel for more thoughts of the season. So now I want to talk about the finale in particular. So maybe very mild spoilers. Again, I'm not going to get into the details. If you want to hear those details, again, click on the review, watch that, because I do go into details on that. I have, pictures to illustrate what I'm talking about, from the actual episode. So that is what it is. Anyways. So yes, I think the finale of Severance Season 2 was a really good episode of TV, right? I mean, again, if you want to talk about my top episodes of the year, I think you'll probably see it there at the very least in kind of an honorable mentions category, because it was a very good episode of TV. You could even say a great episode of TV. But ultimately, to me at least, I think it didn't answer enough questions to me or offer enough payoff. And this is something where, again, I thought Season 2 was kind of a step down from Season 1, because I think the Season 1 finale did do this, actually. I think it did offer enough payoff and did answer enough questions. In a way, almost like all of the questions, really. There was obviously some remaining, some mystery there to keep us, to make us come back and wait over 3 years or whatever it was for this next season. But I feel like it really tied everything up well, for the main plot and the main mystery of what was going on with season 1. And this season, to me, yeah, I mean, they paid some things off. I'm not going to go into details or spoilers, but they paid some things off for sure. And particularly the one main storyline that was really kind of the through line of this season, if you will, was tied up. And that was very satisfying, the way that was kind of brought to its conclusion. But there's a lot of questions remaining at the end of this finale. And so this kind of got me thinking about this and thinking about other finales as well. As it's kind of this balance, right, between offering enough payoff for us, right, offering answering these questions and giving us some of these answers, but then it's also that you need to leave enough mystery for us to come back next season, right? And again, I think the season 1 finale did this perfectly, really. Like, it was kind of a perfect balance of this. Maybe even too many answers provided, if you will, too much payoff in that finale episode. But like I said, there was still enough to keep us interested and keep us, coming back for another season of TV. But it definitely offered enough payoff. And like I said, to me, like, in some ways, really completed the whole storyline, or at least the main storyline that they were going through with season 1. So it's this balance, though, and this is something I don't think the season 2 finale quite captured as well. And it's just the fact that they don't offer enough payoff. And then on the other hand, they leave a lot of mystery, right? They leave a lot of questions remaining for us to ask and look forward to seeing in a season 3. And so, yeah, it's kind of funny where, both finales kind of go on either side of the scale, if you will, maybe a little too far on either side, where, a perfect finale, at least for me, and some people disagree. Like, some people just love a huge cliffhanger and then to come back for the next season. But I don't know. I feel like I needed a little bit more from this finale episode for Severance. I needed a little more payoff, and there's just a lot of questions still remaining here. Where, day 1, I'll be there for season 3 when it comes out for Severance. Hopefully, it's not going to be 3 years. Most likely 2027, I would think, just with the, things that we've heard, the timelines that it looks like we'll be getting, probably 2027. So it'll only be like 2 years then, right around there, for the next season. Which is long, of course, but it is what it is, right? Better than 3. So anyways, I'll be there, day 1 for season 3, of course, because there's so much mystery left. There's so many questions that I do want to tune into and see what they can do with it, right? Like, and maybe they might, maybe season 3 might be even worse than season 2. And they might not be able to wrangle with all these things. And this is, I talked about this as well, actually, a few weeks ago when I talked about mystery box shows and how Severance fits into that mold, right? Who knows, right? This is around the time, season 3, where some of these mystery box shows can kind of, teeter a little bit because it's so tough to wrangle with all these questions and all these mysteries that you set up along the way and pay them off in an effective way. And yeah, I'm just kind of sensing a little bit of that with the season 2 finale. Now, on the other hand, they could completely redeem themselves and have a really great season 3 that's even better than season 2. Maybe it's even better than season 1 somehow. And they answer all these questions and do it in a really effective way. So, who knows, right? It's it remains to be seen which one it is. But yeah, just got me thinking about these finale episodes and how important this balance is for them. So what I want to talk about, just recently, I just thought of, okay, what's a finale that fits this mold from the last couple years of TV? And to me, it's from last year, Sweet Pea, on Stars here in the U.S. I think it was on Sky Atlantic originally, or I should say North America on Stars. But anyways, this was on a 6-episode series starring Ella Purnell, the first season of Sweet Pea. And I thought this finale, when I was kind of looking at this, and I'm like, this was the perfect balance to me of what I'm talking about, where, again, I'm not going to spoil the show if you haven't seen it, but, basically it wraps up, it gives a lot of payoff, really, kind of brings all the story full circle, really, and in the last few minutes of the episode really gives you a really good payoff and really hammers home, to me at least, the main theme of the whole series and the main kind of crux of the character Rhiannon that Ella Purnell is playing in a really effective way. Like, it's shocking, but it is really good at kind of hammering home that theme at the same time. Like, I just really respected what they did with that finale, and really kind of brought everything full circle. And I had, a little bit of a critique, of some of the middle of the season. I thought they kind of lost the plot a little bit, unfortunately, and kind of veered in some other directions. But then the finale, I think, really brought everything together. And like I said, offered enough payoff and answered kind of these questions. It's not necessarily a mystery box show like Severance, but, there were some questions. There was some mystery there. And so I think they did that really well. And then on the other hand, it was almost like within the payoff was more mystery, right? And got us more intrigued for another season. So, and that's what we get, in the closing minutes of, like I said, this thing that happens, this event that happens, is almost both. It's almost offering this payoff, bringing the theme and bringing the story to a close, but it also is the thing that leaves the door open for another season. And then, obviously, there's that event, just after that, in the very last seconds of the finale episode, where that event is definitely going to set something up where, we're probably going to come back right where we left off for season 3 or season 2 to see, obviously, the aftermath of what that happened, what we're going to see next. I thought this finale did that perfectly. Just the right amount of payoff, and then just the right amount of kind of cliffhanger or mystery to bring us back for another season of the show. And it almost, it was effective because it offered that payoff where I don't think you would necessarily have to watch another season of the show. But to me, I want to see there was enough mystery there that I want to see another season of the show and want to see where this goes. So, yeah, I thought that was a good one. Sugar also came to mind from last year, although, I had some nitpicks with the finale a little bit, but it was kind of the same thing. I think it paid it off really well, and kind of left that little bit of mystery going. But yeah, I think it almost was like too much payoff. Like, it really concluded the story effectively. And then the very end of the episode kind of introduced a new dynamic, of mystery to come, which it's effective, right? It's just a little different from what I'm talking about here. But anyways, that was a good one too. I liked, and yeah, those are the couple that come to mind. Honestly, when I think about this, like, not that many came to mind. Like, it's a very difficult balance for finale episodes to do this and be really effective with it. So that's what it is. So those are the couple I thought of: Sweet Pea, Sugar, and then obviously talk about Severance season 1. I thought was effective at that. But anyways, so those are my thoughts, kind of on those that balance for finale episodes here. And then just lastly, I want to touch on, the limited series thing that's going on right in, it's been going on for probably to me, I first go back to Big Little Lies, right? And when was that? I'm going to actually just quickly look into that. Big Little Lies. I think it was 2017, if I had to guess. Or is it 2016? 2017? I can't remember. Let's see here. 2017. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, so I would go back to about 2017. When this started happening, right, of these limited series that are advertised as limited. I think Big Little Lies even competed in the limited series Emmy category, right? They're limited series. And then because they're really successful, because they make a lot of money and are popular, then they're extended to more seasons, they're renewed, and then we, get more and more seasons. And some of these, have gone on for, tons of seasons, like several seasons, after just what was supposed to be a limited series. But anyways, I just feel like these finales in particular, and not even the ones that are necessarily called limited series, but I just notice a lot of the time now, a lot of these these new series, especially on streaming, are designed almost as a limited series. But then in these finale episodes, it's actually kind of like Sugar. I think Sugar kind of fits this, where they pretty much tie up the whole story. Like, a lot of these limited series are based on books. So they'll like cover till the end of the book or something, but then at the very last little bit of the finale, they bring something new up where it's like, okay, if this is really popular, it gets a lot of streams or whatever, we could bring this back, right? We could bring it back for more seasons, but it's also, the story is pretty much complete, and so if it's not that popular, it would still be good for viewers, and they'll still be satisfied with the ending that they get. And I feel like this is something that maybe streaming services are really pushing writers to kind of bake into these limited series, or just these new series in general, right? But anyways, so this is kind of the opposite of what Severance is the season 2 finale suffered from. It's that these limited series offer enough payoff, but there's not enough, to come back to. There's not enough significant mystery or kind of this, cliffhanger to come back to for another season, even though they still get another season anyways, right? And then you're in a boat of, okay, I liked this. Like, I'm just kind of curious to see where they're going to go with another season. So something like Shogun came to mind. I think this is like the perfect example of what I'm talking about here. Yeah, it was supposed to be a limited series. It's based off this book. And I've not seen it, by the way, and unfortunately, I still need to catch up on it probably, before a season 2 comes out or something like that. But from what I know about it, it was based off a book, a limited series, right? Very popular. I mean, arguably the best or the most popular show of last year, of 2024. And yeah, it's been renewed for a season 2. I think season 3 is already in development too. So, they're all in on this show, and for good reason. I've heard it's very good, very popular. So it's what it is. But the miniseries was based off this book, and from all accounts that I've heard, it really just covers the whole book, and that's it. So we're in a place, again, where I haven't seen the finale, but I would assume, if that's the case, that it kind of ends on a satisfying note. They probably offer enough payoff. They tie up the storyline of the season, and now we're left with, okay, we're getting another season, but where do they go from here? So it's kind of the opposite of what I'm talking about with Severance, is that there's too much payoff, really, and there's not enough to come back to for another season. So yeah, I'm very curious to see, how Shogun season 2 is received, what they explore with it, how they're going to kind of pivot and, introduce a new kind of story, or maybe continue with these characters for another season of television. So yeah, just really, really interested in seeing how that goes. And I think depending on how it goes, if it's really successful, I think it could even maybe set the bar for a lot of these types of, shows to do, right? But we'll have to see. It's definitely a challenge, and I think, more often than not, it ends up being, not great. Very, very kind of diminishing returns, if you will, once you get more and more seasons away from the source material, or kind of just the magic of that original, 8-episode limited series, and then you get going in future seasons. I mean, even, I think Big Little Lies is a good example of that. I think season 2, was it? I think they got 2 seasons, and next season received very differently than the first one, right? I think people were pretty negative on it overall. So anyways, that's what it is. But just I thought an interesting conversation about finales, and how this season 2 finale of Severance really kind of painted that picture to me of not enough payoff for a finale of a season, and maybe too much mystery remaining. But yeah, it is effective. I will be tuning in to season 3 when it comes out. So anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts, of course, on this discussion, and what you think of it. If you agree, disagree, anything like that, love to hear from you guys. So all right, so that'll just about do it then for our main topic. A little bit shorter this week. I know I try to put a little bit more into this usually, but that's about it. That's about it for my discussion on that one. So all right. So everything's still looking good on the stream. Gotta check it out and make sure every once in a while here. Yep. Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's get into some news topics. And like I said, I'm very excited to discuss this first one here. about House of the Dragon, because I just think it's such a fascinating story. So, all right. So we have House of the Dragon boss says George R. R. Martin criticizing the show was disappointing. So this is a Variety article, and the link for all these articles that I'm talking about, the news topics here, are linked in the description below. So you'll be able to go on there if you want to read them for yourself. And click on there. So all right, so let's get into this one a little bit here. Okay, all right. So from Variety here, we have House of the Dragon boss says George R. R. Martin criticizing the show was disappointing. So a very interesting topic here to discuss. I was really kind of looking forward to talking about this one. I think it might be the first time I've talked about this on the channel, though I've been kind of following it pretty closely as it was happening. And this was around season 2, right? So when season 2 was ending, I think this was around the time when George R. R. Martin took to his blog post about the show, criticizing it. I mean, I think but one of my favorite lines from one of the posts, because I think there was multiple, but the big one of my favorite lines from it was, I think he was like talking about season 3, and he was alluding to, I think he said something along the lines, again, I'm not, I don't know the exact quote, but something along the lines of, if Ryan and the writers even know what they're doing, right, for the next season, or if they even have an idea of what they're going to do. So a very, kind of, a big jab at Ryan Condal, who, from all accounts, like, this was a great partnership, and I'm going to get into some of the quotes from Ryan Condal here. When they first partnered for this series and co-created it, it seemed like, George R. R. Martin liked him a lot. Ryan Condal really respected Martin. And so to see this fallout happen, and I just think it's such a fascinating story because, and I honestly have a lot of respect for Martin, to be honest, after this, because you never see this happen. Like, this never happens where, even if, like, maybe something like Nick Pizzolatto for True Detective recently, this also comes to mind, where it's kind of like the original creator of something where it's taken over by somebody and they don't really like what they're doing with it, and they actually publicly come out and comment or criticize it. Like, it just never really happens, right? Even if it is the case, even in Martin's case, like, did he really criticize or say much about Game of Thrones season 8? Right? Like, maybe some things here and there and since then, but around the time, certainly not, right? So it's just kind of insane that he even publicly was maybe even allowed or even, had the courage to speak out about this. And to me, I think that I heard a lot of respect in my book, because I also, tend to agree with a lot of the criticisms that he said as well. So, and I will say, I have not read the books. I'm somewhat familiar with Fire and Blood, the material that, of course, the show is based on now. I know some of the major details in that, but I don't know all the details that he talks about in those blog posts. But just the general kind of ideas that he puts forward and some of the things that he said, I can definitely, agree with. So anyways, so here we go, a little bit from the article here. So Ryan Condal told Entertainment Weekly that it was disappointing when George R. R. Martin came out swinging against the HBO series last year in a series of since deleted blog posts, right? And they were deleted. Of course, everybody archived them, so they're still there if you want to take a look at them. So it all started in late August when the Game of Thrones author wrote on his blog that he would soon post about everything that's gone wrong with House of the Dragon. The post arrived in September, calling out specific changes Condal and his team made during Season 2 that Martin did not support. Martin also warned that more toxic tweaks would be made in Season 3. So I think that's the quote I remember where he, said something like, if Ryan and the writers even know what they're doing for Season 3, which, like, that's an insane thing to publicly say, about this show that is adapting your material. So anyways, so Condal, so here are his quotes here after I guess this interview that I did. So it was disappointing, he said. I will simply say I've been a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire for almost 25 years now, and working on the show has been truly one of the great privileges of not only my career as a writer, but my life as a fan of science fiction and fantasy. George himself is a monument, a literary icon, in addition to a personal hero of mine, and was heavily influential on me coming up as a writer. So a lot of praise for him, right? And so I guess they say that Condell frequently said was going to require a looser adaptation, Fire and Blood, since the book is not a traditional narrative. And that's fair, right? It's obviously a historical document almost of Martin, recalling what happened. So that makes sense. So he says, it's this incomplete history and it requires a lot of joining of the dots and a lot of invention as you go along the way. I will simply say I made every effort to include George in the adaptation process. I really did, over years and years, and we really enjoyed a mutual, fruitful, I thought, really strong collaboration for a long time. But at some point, as we got deeper down the road, he just became unwilling to acknowledge the practical issues at hand in a reasonable way. And I think as a showrunner, I have to keep my practical producer hat on and my creative writer, lover of the material hat on at the same time. So then, he kind of ends here. At the end of the day, I just have to keep marching on. Marching not only the writing process forward, but also the practical parts of the process forward for the sake of the crew, the cast, and for HBO, because that's my job. I can only hope that George and I can rediscover that harmony someday, but that's all I have to say about it. So those are the quotes from Ryan Condell. And that last thing, I don't know, to make a comment like that, if Ryan and the writers even know what they're doing, again, paraphrasing, obviously, but something like that doesn't sound like that is going to be a, amicable, relationship. They'll be able to fix that going forward. I don't know. Obviously he deleted the blog post, so he probably regrets it, for some of the stuff he said, and that's completely fair. Or maybe just HBO, pressured him to delete it too. I mean, who knows what, contracts he signed and all that stuff, as well. But yeah, so I thought this was really fascinating to hear Condell say some of this stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I can see where he's coming from, right? It is this incomplete history, as he says. They do have to fill in a lot of the gaps, and I think to their credit, I think in season 1, a lot of people felt that they did a really good job with this, right? With being able to add so much to the story, especially with the time jumps and everything that they did in the first half of the, just the whole season, really, of season 1. But season 2, there was just some stuff in there that it even goes beyond, some of the more minute details and the stuff that Martin was really obsessed with, something like, I think, Maylor being in the show, and Condell and the writers have decided just to completely scrap them from the show, that character from the history, and some stuff like that, right? But even beyond that, it's just like these, Alicent to Rhaenyra during season 2, a lot of that stuff, Rhaenyra going to King's Landing to talk to her, and just everything like that just felt very disingenuous, right? If you're Condell, and some of the stuff he says here, about respecting the material so much, and being a fan for 25 years and all this kind of stuff, and you've worked with Martin and the adaptation, what he wants, what his vision is, to do some of the stuff they did in season 2, like that stuff, just, it doesn't feel true to the material that he's adapting and that he's supposedly a huge fan of for 25 years, right? It just seems, some of the stuff that they were trying to do really just seemed to serve their own, desire to make a story about Rhaenyra and Alicent and the two queens, right? And kind of and put them together in that relationship, and it serves their own needs instead of really respecting the material and adapting it in an authentic, in a genuine way. Obviously you have to change things, but to me that's different, right, than what some of the stuff they did in season 2. So anyway, so I don't know. I kind of come down on this on George's side. We'll have to see what they do for season 3. Though, again, with the quotes that Martin has said in some of those blog posts, from what I guess, he's has knowledge, obviously, of where, are kind of their general ideas for season 3, and he did not like them at all and thought, there would be even more problems. I think one of the quotes here was going to be more toxic in season 3. So, that's really worrying to me, after season 1, which really exceeded my expectations for the show, where season 2 was really quite disappointing, not even mentioning, the fact that it didn't even have a finale, right? Like, it ended at, episode 8 when there should have been 10 episodes. So even beyond that, there were some other issues there, and so yeah, I'm very worried for season 3, to be perfectly honest at this point. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But I really wanted to talk about this, and it's interesting to hear Condal finally, answering or addressing what Martin said about him. And I mean, it's very clear even from these comments, like, if their relationship had, been repaired, or, maybe they, Martin apologized to him or something like that, I don't even know if he would say some of this stuff or even really address it here. But the fact that he is addressing it, and some of the stuff that he's saying really makes it pretty obvious that, like, him and Martin probably aren't even speaking anymore. Like, this relationship has really, really been torn apart. Obviously mainly from Martin, from his blog post, but even then, you could say it started when Condal stopped, respecting the material and taking a different direction with Fire and Blood and with the show House of the Dragon. So yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting one, but yeah, it's pretty clear that they are probably not even talking anymore, and that respect, that mutual harmony or something that he said that they had, it seems to be gone. So anyways, we'll have to see what House of the Dragon Season 3 has in store for us, probably in 2026 then, next year it'll come out. And, at the very least, we'll see, what is it, the Battle of the Gullet, or something like that it's called, which is a massive battle, and we've already heard some news about how massive it is and how much they're putting into it. So at the very least, that should be very interesting, and should be some really great payoff for what we've seen so far. So anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, though, of the blog posts and this whole relationship, the falling out between Condal and George, and all the stuff that goes into this. So yeah, love to hear from you guys for sure on this one. All right, so that'll just do it then for that topic. Like I said, very fascinating stuff here. So yeah, so we get into a little bit more of the article here. About Martin's critique of season 2, and we get into this stuff, but yeah, and Condal saying there's nothing we do on the show without talking it through and thinking about it very deeply for usually many months, if not years. I will just say that the creative decisions that we make in the show all flow through me, every single one of them, and this is the show that I want to make and believe as a fan of Fire and Blood and a deep reader of this material. It is the adaptation we should be making to not only serve Fire and Blood, but also a massive television audience. So, interesting stuff there for sure. And, yeah, I mean, fascinating story, right? Like, just something that you don't see very often. So, yeah, just a really good one there. All right. So next then, some more House of the Dragon news actually here. This one is from Entertainment Weekly, and this is just about the casting of 2 new characters, or 2 Northmen, as they say in the article here, for Season 3, right? So they've casted 2 new actors for Season 3 for playing some of these characters. And this article also comes with the news that filming has officially began on House of the Dragon Season 3, which is kind of interesting because I feel like we've had conflicting reports on this so far, because at one point they said, production was very, serious, and they had already been building the sets for the Battle of the Gullet, which I think is like taking place in the first couple episodes of the season, and all this stuff, and so they were kind of alluding to the fact that they had begun shooting. But anyway, so I guess this is the official announcement that filming has begun on House of the Dragon Season 3. So that also comes along with the news that of these 2 castings, right? And then we also had another casting about a week ago, and I can't remember what his name was. I'm forgetting the name of the other casting that we just had a couple weeks ago. Did they say it here in this article? I can't remember. Yeah, I guess not. I guess not. But anyways, there was somebody that just got casted as well. It was for Ormond Hightower. I think that's his name. Another character there from Old Town. And I can't remember the actor's name. But anyways, so that was another casting. But these two I thought were interesting. So we get Warrior, Old Horror, fictionalized history. Blindness Thrill. Where do we get the stuff about the casting here? Colin Ronnie the Ruin. He leads an army of known for roles. Tommy Flanagan. Okay. James Norton. All right, that's it. Okay. Yep. All right. Yep. So that's for the casting, and that's for Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. So Tommy Flanagan, known for roles in Sons of Anarchy, Gladiator, and Braveheart. So kind of right in that wheelhouse of what we're going with here, right? So he'll enter the playing field of the Targaryen Civil War as Sir Roderick Dustin, the Lord of Barrowtown and head of House Dustin in the north, who goes by the nickname Roddy the Ruin. And it seems like this article is saying that he's a fan favorite from the source material Fire and Blood. So interesting. I'm not familiar with the character or this part of the material at all. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what he brings to it. And I don't necessarily, I kind of recognize him, but I'm not sure that I've seen him in much. Maybe just stuff from Sons of Anarchy here and there. But they also talk about Dan Fogler, who has worked on Fantastic Beasts, Complete Unknown as well this past year with Timothée Chalamet, the Bob Dylan biopic. And so he's going to play the role of Sir Torrin Manderley, a knight of House Manderley in the north. I thought this was an interesting one. Dan Fogler, who I've seen also in The Offer, Paramount Plus miniseries, thought he was really great in that. And Walking Dead. He was also in The Walking Dead last few seasons of the show. I thought he was great in Walking Dead, great in The Offer. And it's really been great to see him, and in Complete Unknown, he had a good role too, and so it's been kind of cool to see him after Walking Dead get some more of these roles, and I mean, this is a massive one to be in something in the Game of Thrones universe. So Flanagan and Folger joined previously announced Season 3 newcomer James Norton as Ormond Hightower. So there we go. Ormond Hightower is being played by James Norton, so that's the name that was cast a little earlier on, maybe a week ago or so for Season 3 of House of the Dragon as well. So, yeah, and then we get a quote from Ryan Condal here, so I don't want to say much because I think this is one of those truly memorable Game of Thrones characters, and I'm very excited to bring him into the fold. But he is a fixture in Fire and Blood, and I think he's one of those true fan favorites. I'm very, very proud of the role that we've written. So I think they're obviously talking about Roddy the Ruin and talking about the character that Tommy Flanagan, that character that he's going to play. So, yeah, I mean, very, very interesting stuff. And it sounds like that's kind of a big announcement in terms of the casting for fans of the material. And so, yeah, very interesting stuff there. Some good names. And like I said, really cool, to see Dan Fogler, get another big role like this for something like this in the Game of Thrones universe. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. So, anyways, that'll just do it for that one. Some good casting news there for House of the Dragon. And like I said, official news now that filming has begun on the next season of the show. So that'll do it for that one there. And then if we can get this, if this can load here, we'll go on to the next one. Okay, we're all good. Okay. So this next article here, and this is from Collider. So again, link in the description for all these articles here. And so this one is Alan Tudyk shares exciting Resident Alien Season 4 filming update. So the article says, gather round, Resident Alien fans, because Alan Tudyk has an exciting progress report for Season 4. Season 4 will see the fan-favorite science fiction series switch homes from Sci-Fi to the USA Network. So this is something I also wanted to discuss just briefly as well. But fans can rest assured the new installment will continue in the same vein as its predecessors, with showrunner Chris Sheridan at the helm still. They seems like they've hinted at a late 2025 release for season 4. And, I guess the news here, the exciting filming update is that filming is done, right? So filming for season 4 is now complete, and this was confirmed from Alan Tudyk on social media, I suppose, and he posted, I guess, a headshot of himself, last day filming Resident Alien Season 4, in the caption for that one. So it says, while no official release date is set for Season 4, Tudyk told fans a while back that release towards the end of 2025 was most likely. He said, I feel like you should get it before the end of 2025. So there you go. So that's what it is. So filming for Season 4 has finished now, according to Alan Tudyk, and then, that means that late 2025, we'll probably be getting Season 4 premiering on USA Network instead of Sci-Fi. So just that alone is interesting to me. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I guess they're trying to reassure people in the article here where they say, everything's staying the same. They're just changing networks. So I don't know, is that anything to, really think about? Like, is that going to, I know they're saying that it's not going to change, but is that going to change at all? I think the language would be the same on both Sci-Fi and USA. Obviously, I think it's, NBC Universal, the parent company who owns both. So I don't think there really should be much changes here, but it is just kind of interesting to hear that they would shift the show, especially considering that I would think, by all accounts, it would be Sci-Fi's most popular show or their biggest show on that specific channel or network. So interesting to move it to USA. Perhaps even that would be the reason, right? Maybe it is the biggest show on Sci-Fi. Maybe USA Network is kind of lacking right now, and I think you could say it is. And so maybe they want to bring over that really popular show, bring it to USA Network, maybe even get more eyes on it than just what Sci-Fi would, and really make it kind of the big kind of tentpole show, if you will, for USA Network. So, and really, if you think about it, like since Mr. Robot has ended, what is USA Network really doing right now? I can't really think of any big shows. So maybe that's kind of what it is, that they're switching this to USA Network. So anyways, some really great news on this, though. Kind of odd to me a little bit, Season 3 was odd in itself because there was just a lot of that kind of gap in between Season 2 and 3, and I can't remember now when it did come out. Was it the start of 2024? I believe that's when it was that, Season 3 came out, or was it start of 2024? Yeah, I think, February or something, right? So that one was interesting because even without the strikes and the stuff that was happening, it seemed like that season probably should have came out a little earlier, definitely in 2023 at some point. Because if they stuck to the schedule of the first couple seasons, they should have been already done filming by the time the strikes really hit. So anyway, so I feel like there was something there, and then they also reduced the episodes drastically from Season 2 to 3. And then now with Season 3 to Season 4, again, I feel like that probably we should have been getting Season 4 by now if they had stuck to a regular schedule, because this is a show, on USA Network now that is more in the model of a network show and less like a streaming show where they, shoot the next season as the current season is still airing. That's what they did for the first 2 seasons. So little odd to me, does that necessarily, mean anything for the quality of Season 4 or Season 3 going forward? Maybe, right? I still think that Season 1 is probably the strongest season, though I really liked a lot of the stuff they did with Season 2. I feel like they got a little bit into the weeds a little too much there. It was a little too long, to be honest. They probably had, maybe 3 or 4 too many episodes in Season 2. But yeah, so we'll have to see if the quality is affected by stuff like this in the background. They move networks. It's been longer time now since they've been released. So, I don't know, stuff to think about. But at the very least, I am excited. I think I still have to catch up on the end of Season 3, unfortunately. So I'll do that, before Season 4 comes out. But it is cool, to hear about this, that it is coming out this year. Another good show that comes back in 2025, it looks like. A really jam-packed year for TV just already. And we have, 8 more months or 9 more months left. Like, insane to think about how much is still yet to come. So, yeah, really interesting. Late 2025. I would think probably the fall. Again, I don't think the show takes that long in post-production, even though some of the effects work is really impressive on the show. Gotta give them a lot of credit for that. But they seem to, pump these out pretty fast. So I would think in the fall, maybe September, October time, that we'll probably get season 4 of Resident Alien here. Looking forward to it for sure. All right, so that'll just about do it then for Resident Alien. And then our last news topic here, we had 4 this week, which is quite a few. I mean, usually we have like 2 or 3 if we're lucky, but like I said, lots to talk about this week. So this one is from Variety, and it is Jason Momoa series Chief of War sets release date at Apple TV+. And a great picture, by the way, on this article. Link should be in the description if you want to take a look at that. I believe it's a first look from the series, and it looks really cool. Really cool. So Jason Momoa's historical epic series titled Chief of War has set its premiere date at Apple TV+. The drama series will debut with its first 2 episodes on August 1st. So August 1st is the premiere date for this new Jason Momoa show, with new episodes dropping weekly thereafter through September 19th. So it's based on true events, and its 9 episodes follows warrior Kayana, played by Momoa, as he tries to unify the islands before Western colonization in the late 18th century. So that's the official logline. And along with Momoa, the cast includes Lucien Buchanan, Tamara Morrison, Te'eo Hanpahanga, Cliff Curtis, Kaina Makua, Moses Goods, Brandon Finn, James Udom, Mane Kinimaka, Teikobi Tuhaksa. So yeah, a lot of actors that I'm not familiar with their names, unfortunately. Maybe I will be after this series. So lesser known actors, when you have someone like Jason Momoa who commands such an audience and has such a presence, you don't really need a lot of those other big, names to go with him. And obviously, I'm sure that these other actors have a lot of work and probably have some credits I'm just unfamiliar with. But anyways, no massive names on the level of Jason Momoa joining him with that cast. And obviously, it is depicting this time, and so I think a lot of these castings, are people from that area. I think it's like based in Hawaii, right? I think that's the idea of the islands. But anyways, and so it's people from that area and people with that background, and I think that's really you got to give them a lot of respect for trying to stay authentic and casting these actors who are from there. Even if some of them may be lesser names. I'm not sure that's the case, but that could be the case here. So it was originally commissioned by Apple back in 2022, and it's the second TV series Momoa has made with Apple TV+, followed by the post-apocalyptic series C, which aired for 3 seasons. So the interesting stuff about this, though, is that Momoa co-created the show, right? And they both are, so Momoa and his co-creator, Thomas Shibet, and they're both native Hawaiian ancestry, right? Both of them Jason Momoa has been very open about this, obviously. That's pretty clear with his background. And it sounds like Jason Momoa is going to direct the season finale here. So that's pretty cool. And then it also says, a name like Tim Van Patten is also attached to direct, which to me, my 2 cents, he's like the best director in the Golden Age of TV. He's amazing. And so, to hear him there, and it's also, Jason Momoa is going to be writing in the show as well. And it says that his first time that he's written for television. So all that stuff is pretty cool. Like, this really, he's a co-creator, he's directing, he's writing, he's starring in it. This really seems like he's all in on this project and really dedicated to it. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to this. I think this could really fit that kind of niche or that kind of desire that a lot of people have for this type of show. I think there's going to be quite a bit of action, having Jason Momoa as your lead, right? And a lot of this kind of, epic, feel to it, right? This epic kind of action, historical drama, right? It really feels like that could be what is going to, what's the main kind of focus, main draw of this series. And so for those people who are constantly looking for that niche, I think this is going to really pay off. And obviously it's Apple, so the budget will be there. I think it's going to look great. The only thing is the writing, right? With some of these series, especially like a show like C, I have not seen it, but from what I heard, the writing kind of, has its issues, right? It kind of struggles at times. And so we'll have to see how the writing is for this show. And I think that's going to be the main factor in whether this series is, potentially a best of the year candidate, or is it just kind of mid? Yeah, is it cool to look at, visually stunning, right? Really good action. But does some of the story just not really make sense, and some of these characters not really well fleshed out? So that's, to me, the main thing here. I think it has really great potential. If you're a fan of Jason Momoa, I think you have to, really give him a lot of respect here for writing, directing, starring, co-creating. Like, he's all in on this. So really deserves at least our attention, I think, for the first couple episodes. I think it's definitely going to be worth checking out. And like I said, just from this picture on the article, it looks really, really cool. Like he's in costume here with the other characters. Really, really cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one for sure. I'll definitely check this out. Like I said, we'll see on the writing and how it goes, but definitely the first couple episodes worth checking out. So it says August 1st is the release date. We're a little far out from that, by the way, right? Like we're 3 months away or 4 months away from this coming out, but it is what it is. August 1st, we'll have to wait just a little bit for the new series here from Jason Momoa called Chief of War on Apple TV+. All right. So that'll just do it then for all the news topics there. We have a comment. I'm so bad about the live chat. I think I said this in last week's episode or something like that. But yeah, I gotta work on the chat and see these comments. I'll just reply. I'm not sure if oh goodness. Oh goodness. Can I just reply? Oh, you can't reply on the chat. Okay. All right. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you're still here or not. I'm not sure if you're still here or not. But Morgan, is it Morgan something there? But they say praise cure, of course, right? Of course, the nice Severance mention there. Praise cure, that's awesome. Thanks for leaving that one. That's funny. But anyways, I got to work on the chat because, it's so small on my screen over here in the corner, and then I can't really see it when I'm talking about other stuff. So I got to figure that out because I hate missing messages like that, and I think that was maybe left a little bit ago, but I just didn't see it until now. So hopefully, if you're still here or anything, hopefully you see that. But yeah, praise cure, of course. Great line from Severance, and that's exactly what I was talking about too with the show. Like just something like that. It's just so, like, it's funny, but it's also really fits the tone of the show. And, there's just so many things like that, like the Ortbo, something like the, outside occurrence, right? The retreat that they go on in the season. Like, just everything that the writers come up with is just so impressive, so brilliant. So, yeah, praise Kira, exactly. So, anyways, that'll just do it then for this episode of Let's Talk Television this week. I think we went, through all the news topics: the House of the Dragon, Resident Alien, the Jason Momoa series. We talked about the main topic and all that. So yeah, I think that's about it. Next week, I am going to be checking out The Studio as well. The new Apple TV Plus series. I have not watched it yet, and I know it came out a few days ago now. So I'm going to definitely watch that. So I want to talk about that probably next week's episode of Let's Talk Television. And what else? Yellow Jacket Season 3 is going to be almost done in a couple weeks. That's insane. That season has gone by so fast. And I do have to catch up on a couple episodes there. So I'll be doing my review on the channel, and then obviously I think we'll be talking about that on Let's Talk Television. What else is coming up? Hacks Season 4 is coming up. Season 4 now? Yeah, Season 4. And then Your Friends and Neighbors, the new John Hamm series on Apple TV+. So there's just so much going on right now in TV. It's actually a little insane. It's a little overwhelming, but anyway, so yeah, lots to talk about. So hopefully I'll be back next week for Let's Talk Television episode 8. And, we'll get into a lot of that stuff with, Yellow Jackets, the studio, and a bunch of those other shows going on. So anyways, so stay tuned. I also did just upload the video, another tier list video for The Walking Dead, ranking character deaths. And I didn't realize this, but it might get banned, the video apparently, for putting death in the title or the thumbnail or something like that. Did not realize that. Maybe I shouldn't even be saying it now. But anyways, so hopefully that is okay. But yeah, check that one out if you're interested at all in the tier list video. But anyways, with all that being said, that'll just about do it. So thank you everybody for checking this one out. Thank you for those of you. We see a few people here that are live. So thank you very much. And of course afterwards as well. Really appreciate that. So anyways, thank you everyone and take care.